Good evening, Speed Gaming. I am ACZ, and I am here commentating this wonderful match between Taelin116 and Planeswater for the Timespinner Randomizer tournament. This is a second round match, winner of which will be going up against Wef Jebster in round 3. Should be a good match. And our runners are getting started here shortly. Important things to know about this tournament compared to last year's tournament, if you are not familiar, is the Unchained Keys flag set, making it so that they start with the Twin Pyramid Keys and there will be 3 additional items. A Modern Warp Beacon, which will be our access to the present, a Time-Worn Warp Beacon, which will give us a random warp in the past, and a Mysterious Warp Beacon, which will be a random warp in the pyramid area. Starting off with a Shattered Orb Plus as well as Crimson Vortex Plus. Runners are going to be happy they have that. We've already got good damage. Shattered Orb, one of the best ones in the game for damage. As well as Blood, with that Crimson Vortex spell. Both runners tagging the warp, knowing that they do have that Twin Pyramid Key to start. And let's see where our early routing takes us. While they're getting started, other things to note. Compared to last year, the other big flag is Rising Tides, which will randomly flood and or unflood certain areas of the game, which can really make certain aspects, certain parts of the game way more open and way less open, requiring or not requiring that water mask. The 2 main ones that we'll be thinking about are a Dry Lake Serene and or a Flooded Castle Keep, both of which are pretty big differences, especially at the start here. Now let's see what these runners choose to do as they head over to the split into Siren Caves as well as towards the castle. Planeswater opting to go up. Might tag that warp and go down. It's been a pretty common thing to do, just in case they find a warp shard after they go down. They'll warp back up, and if they happen to find a random warp shard, they will be able to use it. As you can see there, Planeswater tagging the warp so that when they get down to the upper Caves of Banishment warp, they will be able to warp back up. Whereas Taelin just opting to pick up the one check that they can get, which is the Silence Ring. A great early ring, the D-Booster ring as it is known. Just good for early, since we are starting inverted, meaning that the enemies are a little bit stronger than if you were just starting at the vanilla point. Taelin taking a boulder to the head. Let's do a lot of damage. Would not recommend doing that. Planeswater eating 2 boulders. Unfortunate. as Taelin heads under the drawbridge to see what our two items are here. Bleak Ring, that's a nice damage ring. Shadow Seal, that's the better damage ring. Shadow Seal, increasing your damage based on the amount of missing HP you have. A very nice one to have, since so many things will be doing a lot of damage. Lily in chat pointing out that all of our blunt orbs are dealing increased damage due to them being plus from damage rando. Damage rando will... Oh no! Taelin taking a death. Yeah, that'll put him back quite the ways. You gotta be careful early. I didn't even notice that Celine's Vangle pickup. Celine? Celine? I've always said Celine, but I think it's Celine. That equipment doesn't provide any visual buffs, but does give increased experience. Very nice to find early, less so if you find it later. But Taelin having to make a run back as Planeswater pulls ahead due to that. And I never finished explaining damage rando as we find Blood Orb Plus. We knew that was going to be plus as the sets are always the same. So because we had that Crimson Vortex Plus, we knew that we were going to find Blood Orb Plus. Damage rando increases an orb's damage. If it's plus, I think it's double damage. And decreases an orb's damage by half if it's minus. So it is very significant and is a really nice way to spice the game up, since most of us have our favorite orbs, and it depends on the orb, roughly half. Okay, yeah, thank you. But if we weren't playing with damage rando, we'd all just take our favorite orbs, and that'd be that. Damage rando adds an element of, well, you can take your favorite orb, or you can take this orb that's going to deal significantly more damage, and it just adds a little bit extra variety to every seed. Finding a Timespinner Spindle in the unfloated Castle Keep. How you would expect to find it. That is a mysterious warp beacon. We might have a fast seed on our hands. The mysterious warp beacon being a warp that allows us to get into the ancient pyramid, so that means we are... I didn't see where that took us though, other than that we had found it. And a light wall. Yes, so we do have our infinite vertical. Light wall being one of two items that is a logical infinite vertical. The other one being Celestial Sash. Unfortunately, early, light wall is quite unpleasant to use since it uses a pretty decent chunk of aura. It's really rough early game for vertical, but it is still logical infinite vertical, even if you don't like it. Planeswater checking their map. I think I saw an unflooded Lake Serene. I think that I saw a bunch of the Maw caves in Logic. Planes opting not to even go towards the Twins area, using that light wall they found. Going directly up, probably to go buy warp shards. warp shards being the item that allows you to teleport immediately back to any of the, well, to your most recently used orb, which is very, very good for routing. Because why walk back when I can teleport? Taelin finding that Spindle will be finding their light wall here shortly. Oh, and there's a free warp shard. Planeswater, out of aura. Such is the way of light wall. Let's hope our buddy Merchant Crow has some more restoring items for us. And once again, I did not catch where that mysterious warp beacon took us. Taelin closed out of it too fast for me to see. Ooh, and a lab coat. A pretty good piece of armor. Gives us pretty solid damage. And not our best one, but that neurotoxin trap feels bad. Neurotoxin, one of the 3 status ailments you can have on you, drains all of your aura. You want to know what we need in order to get higher? Using our light wall spell? We need some aura. And finally, having recovered enough, we go up and find an Iron Orb Plus. All of our blunt orbs are plus. We have all of the damage, all of the time on all of the blunt orbs. A little bit of divergence here. Taelin headed towards the twins checks. Ooh, and a pendulum in the shop. Pendulum is a nice item. Prevents the poison status, which is very brutal in this game. Takes 25% of your health over time, and it lasts just forever. Planeswater once again waiting for aura to refill. Don't get cute with your light walls. With where that light wall is placed on Taelin's side, the game won't let you grab it because you can't grab that platform there. And I'm gonna say it to you again, you too, Planeswater, don't get cute with your light walls, with where that light wall is placed. You can't jump up. Finding some lab glasses on Taelin's side, just like the lab coat, a pretty decent piece of equipment for damage. The best one for that slot is the Empire Crown. So we will be looking out for that one. Planeswater making the full trek up to Alana. A long way, but has managed the light wall casts. And we're seeing Taelin fight Nightmare as a part of Boss Rando. Boss Rando randomizes each of the main bosses and scales their stats so that they're reasonable. You can choose to play with unscaled bosses. I would not recommend it unless you want to get stuck behind Ravenlord as your first boss. So that is Nightmare at Golden Idol / the Twins, and Ma at the Alana location. Unfortunately, our light wall being minus just makes both of these very sad fights. But Planeswater managing with those Chaos Blades and Shattered Orb. Bombardment Plus, that is going to be our boss killer. Bombardment Plus, just exceptional way to deal damage in this game. Hits, I think, 10 times for just a lot of damage. And we did find a Colossal Blade Plus as well, so we now have a element other than Blunt that is plus. Our runners just have all of the damage all of the time right now. Got just about every boss covered in terms of weaknesses and a plus orb. And there's a pink item. Planeswater, that will get us, on Planeswater side, that will get us into the pink door that we had to walk by. That we had to walk past earlier, that I didn't mention. But now we'll be able to head back there. With that Plasma Geyser and check out those two checks. And we're getting to see Bombardiers and the post Bombardiers checks become kind of a meme this tourney. A little bit notorious for having something. So let's see what they have today. Just some sand. Nothing crazy this time. Unless the post Bombardiers have something. Nope. Just more sand. I think that was the exact same item. It wasn't even like a sand vial and a sand bottle. It was both sand bottles. Sand bottles used to refill that sand that they don't have. Need wheel to have sand. Taelin making the correct choice to get the upper chest before picking up the neurotoxin trap that they didn't know was there. Soul Scanner, best item in the game. Now we know what the enemies are called. That's it, there's no hidden effect. I just really like knowing what the enemies are called. They've got fun names. Planeswater backtracking to the Twins checks. Won't find anything too interesting, but we'll find the lab glasses. Now that both of our runners are kind of retracing each other's steps. Oh, where's Taelin going? Oh, Taelin's going to refresh our aura. We gotta love Light Wall Vertical. We might have all of the damage all of the time, but we have none of the vertical. And it feels just a little bit bad. Planeswater equipping those lab glasses. Just for the damage. We love damage. Planeswater headed up to go fight the, I almost said the Twins. The Twins who actually house Nightmare. Planeswater a little bit better off for this fight with that Bombardment Plus. I didn't even notice that Gun Orb minus pickup. We are not too terribly sad about that one. That led to the other notorious check of this tournament with an elevator keycard. That can come in handy once we find our way into the present. And yes, Chaos quickly drains all of your remaining sand. It does not affect our runners right now, since they have no sand to be drained. Planeswater heading into the upper caves of banishment, the Siren Caves as they're called sometimes. We're gonna get our few checks that we can get here, and then likely be headed off towards Lake Serene with no lake. No fire. No fire as well, so won't be able to burn those vines if we get access to our present. Infernal Flames plus, that's fire, and it's also plus Lily rolling all of the damage all of the time. At least somebody finally got a nice Lily Seed. Tentatively a nice Lily Seed. This could still get so much worse at a moment's notice. But at least we won't ever have to worry about damage or weaknesses, because we've got damage across the board. I don't think there's a single boss that we aren't super effective against. Taelin cleaning up what's left of the castle, and then we'll likely be heading over to Lake Serene as well. Has done a fantastic job at making up the lost time from that death. Oh yes, we don't have any confirmation about Empire yet. Which would be our only super effective against Emperor Voltrellis. Terralus. I have a cheat sheet up next to me. I should be able to figure that out on my own without having somebody tell me. But we just saw the Prince Dead fight at the Cantoran location. Unfortunately, Prince Dead extremely weak to dying via our Bombardment Plus spell. You'll find most bosses are extremely weak to dying against our Bombardment Plus spell. That's just how good it is. Unfortunately, only reward with the Captain's Cap there. Slightly better than our lab glasses, but we're still looking out for that Empire Crown. Ooh, I like this from Planeswater, checking only the first, that's 4 checks of the upper side, and then going through the lower side. That way they don't have to do a full loop in order to get everything. Speaking of the Empire Crown, there it is. We found it. That's our best damage headpiece. horseshoe route? Yeah, I guess that would make sense now, wouldn't it? That was some good white wall climbing. Finding our blue orb, deciding that we have plenty of plus orbs that deal blunt damage, and that we're probably okay leaving that one there for now. Here's dog. Goodbye, dog. Dog being there is a product of the unflooded Lake Serene. I died my first time going through unflooded Lake Serene because of dog. Taelin opting to not do the pedestal check up there because of what I assume is light wall concerns, the aura concerns. Still have not found anything better for that. Galaxy earrings. Just like Selen's bangle, those increase XP, but for our orbs instead. Not super great, but if you have nothing else to equip, why not take some extra XP? After all, damage is damage. And our runner's almost in the same spot right now, with Planeswater having already gotten all of the fire things done. So Taelin will be going back for those. And there we are, a royal ring. That'll make light wall a little bit easier to use. Increases our aura recovery rate. As we find Emperor Voltrellus. Hairless. Still not entirely sure how to say that. Going down quite easily, as it is in the Azure Queen spot. I completely forgot that we found our fire in the Siren Caves. So Taelin not doing the fire checks because, or won't be able to burn those vines. Oh yes, Aura Blast does in fact deal the aura damage type, which is the same as Empire Orb. So we would have had a weakness, but we already had the weakness in the form of Bombardment Plus, so we're doing all right. But yes, we did in fact have a form of plus damage for all of the bosses. But we likely won't be seeing a whole lot of them since, you know, that Bombardment Plus is just going to be our boss killer. And the aura will be our only positive source of that aura damage since our Empire Orb is minus. Planeswater very much through Maw Caves now. Just got around to mentioning that. We'll be able to check Jackpot Room here with the light wall, even if it is a little slow. Jackpot Room has 4 checks, and accounts for, I believe it's a third of all the checks in this cave. So definitely don't want to be skipping this one. And there is our modern warp beacon, the Lake Desolation. Planeswater backing out after seeing the mind refresh and then deciding, I still am only using Light Wall. I'm gonna go back and pick that up. Need all the aura you can get. So now with that modern warp beacon to Lake Desolation, our runners can get into the present. And hey, there's an economizer ring. Just in case you wanted two sets, one with Royal Ring and one with economizer. Just for maximum aura efficiency. Taelin accidentally casting Light Wall, putting themselves in Light Wall jail. As Planeswater is heading further and further, is actually opting to go into the oxygenless area. We'll be picking up the plasma crystal check here, just sand, and we're gonna go and grab the save. So in this area, where you will be fighting the boss that is normally the Maw, there is no oxygen, and you'll have a short timer of oxygen, and after that you take, I believe, 10% of your health every time it takes damage from you, which I think is one time a second. So it is very harmful until you get that gas mask. Which is the item that allows you to breathe in any oxygenless environments. And killing that boss that will be at the Maw location also makes all of Lake Desolation filled with gas as well. So while some runners may opt to choose to kill the Maw boss out of logic, it does have extra repercussions, especially with where that warp beacon takes them. And that's a Celestial Sash. That is our better infinite vertical. We no longer need Light Wall equipped. As with the Celestial Sash, it doesn't cost aura to just fly up. So we see Horseshoe Route again from Planeswater, but this time in reverse. Taelin almost through all of Maw Caves. Will likely be headed to the present, just behind Planeswater. Making quick work of all the checks here. And we'll be very happy to eventually find that Celestial Sash. Wait, they can't... Celestial Sash was fire-locked. Oh no. They will not be finding that Celestial Sash. I take it back. This is not great for them. Or was it just outside of fire? Yes, it was outside of the fire. Ooh. Gave myself a bit of panic there. Since the Celestial Sash can be such a vast advantage over having to light wall everywhere. We'll see if any of the other fire checks end up being anything. But for Taelin's sake, we can hope that they aren't and that they never have to go back for any of the fire checks. That's a security keycard A. That could be important. That locks the entirety of the Zerion caves, as well as two of the hallways we like to call Spider Heck. And there was also a tablet. That is a little bit more important than Zerion caves and 2 Spider Heck checks. Since most runners don't want to do the Spider Heck checks anyways, so they usually get faded for a little bit. And there's that Celestial Sash, not inside the fire. And there was Genza at Feline Sentry location. Genza being the one boss that is resistant to blunt damage. Very, very nice to find them on the location with the least amount of HP. Picking up the Merchant Crow Familiar off of the no longer with us scientist. The Merchant Crow Familiar, as well as the Kobo Familiar, unlock 2 of our Temporal Gyre bosses, or the 2 Temporal Gyre bosses, which with our randomized Temporal Gyre puts those into the Merchant Crow Familiar unlocks the hold on, I have a list that helps me with the names. The Ravenlord Arena, that location is in the lab, and the Ifrit fight, unlocked by the Kobo Familiar, is in the library. And the Temporal Gyre itself is locked behind the lasers. We did find an Eternal Coat being a downloadable item, so Taelin will not be finding that. The Eternal Coat being our best equipment for damage, or our best piece of armor for damage for that slot. So, not great, but I don't think damage is really a concern right now. The defense that it provides does hurt a little bit, but both of these runners are good enough that it shouldn't end up mattering too much. They both played the qualifier where we had a 30-minute go. And that was for me. I'm slow. The Kobo Familiar, right outside of the location that it unlocks. Let's see what's there. Blade Orb Plus. And Varney. Varney is not the hardest boss in vanilla, but gets really hard when scaled up. And unfortunately, this is a scaled up location. Unfortunately for Varney, Bombardment Plus. Makes quick work of anything and everything, all of the time. Yes, so Varney does in fact have 5,000 HP. Or, the Ifrit fight does have 5,000 HP. Clearly, that's a problem for our runners. Planeswater finally making a play into the pyramid. We have a right side warp. So we're going to get to see the check just outside of our final boss door. And who knows, we might even get to see a regret chest. Not a whole lot of Timespinner gears, though. And by not a whole lot, I mean we have exactly none. And we don't have the wheel. We are very far away from being able to beat this seed as far as those are concerned, but all it takes is 4 checks. Taelin opting not to use that Bombardment Plus spell we found, opting for the Crimson Vortex. Not the best option, as Varney does resist the Crimson Vortex. So is having a much slower fight. And a much harder one because of that insane damage and HP that Varney has been given. But we got through it. And we're gonna be headed back with our newly acquired D card. And who knows where we'll go next? Yes, there was in fact nothing at regret. I think it was a sand vial at regret chest, so yeah, Planeswater resetting out of there immediately. Nothing but regret at regret, unless it's the first match in the tournament, in which case there's a Timespinner gear there. Taelin not going into the pyramid is going to go directly into the library, or into the Varnagroth Towers, not the library. We were just in the library. Jumping over the enemy that hits you if you just hold forward. Good heads-up play. Planeswater opting to kill the enemy. I personally always walk into the enemy. I just think it's funny. Taelin going around the long way does not have that elevator keycard. Finds the Talaria. That is our good horizontal movement. So we'll be making up time due to that Talaria. That Talaria find. Plane's opting to go with the right to left strategy for clearing out this area. Hey, here's one of those spider hex that I mentioned earlier. These are our friends, hex spiders, or heck gazers. Ignore the screen. That says heck. Trust me, I would know. So far, that A card and tablet not paying out with anything too important. Is Taelin finally going to make their way and find fire? Or are we just going over here to pick up those checks? We're going to fight Ma! We're fighting Ma out of logic. And you don't want to see Ravenlord here. Ravenlord is weak to Sharp, Fire, and Blood Orb, so... Ooh, that is a Timespinner wheel in the right side tower. That gives us access to the time stop. Taelin defeating Ravenlord, but dying after the fact due to suffocation, and they have not saved in a while. Getting sent back all the way to before Genza. Fortunately knows that they don't have to do a lot of what they just did. As Planeswater will be making their way to that Talaria attachment just below them. But that hurts. Taelin probably feels pretty behind right now, and that is a Timespinner gear locked behind the elevator keycard. I don't remember where we found that. I think it might have been one of the past checks behind the vines. Yes, E-card was Battle Edge. The elevator keycard was there. Okay. So Taelin has just not been back to that lower area at all. Since the beginning, where they decided that they were going to pick up the item at the top and then just head directly into the castle. Now we're seeing the big thing that the A card unlocks, Zarion Caves. See if we find anything cool here. Some alchemy tools. We love finding quest items. And that's Plasma Orb. We don't need the Plasma Orb. We have the Plasma Geyser. If we need Plasma type damage. So, resetting out of there very quickly. We're gonna check present jackpot room, which has the gas mask to put that Maw fight in logic. Present jackpot room is far more disappointing, only containing one chest. Taelin picking up some healing items. I might be thinking about still going back and doing the Moth fight. Which Planeswater is going to go do and to have a much easier time doing. Due to not having to worry about suffocating. And there we can just see how good that bombardment spell is. 96 damage on every hit, and it can hit like 10 times. It's so good. And we are headed into the military hangar. Skipping past the temporal gyre. There are 3 checks we can get in there, but it can be a really slow 3 checks. So we might see those later. Taelin finally getting the Talaria back. Finally has that good horizontal movement. Again. And Planeswater making quick work of the military hangar. With Talaria and Time Stop, you just stop pretending that the enemies are even there. You just walk, or in this case, run past them. Arm cannon minus. Enough said. And Taelin going through the pyramid. We'll get to regret chest, find that sand vial, and be slightly disappointed. Maybe full of a little bit of regret. That's a water mask. Saw the water mask behind Experiment 11. That'll allow us to go underwater. Which could end up being very important. And here's the final thing that the A card locks. And that's a fire orb. We're gonna take it because we don't want to reset out, but not what you're hoping to see there. So far, having not done the fire checks has not really been a huge issue for Taelin, other than the fact that it's going to be constantly on the back of his mind. Let's see what's at the Ravenlord boss arena. That's Feline Century. Feline Century has no strengths, or has no weaknesses. Still making quick work. Bombardment plus, ladies and gentlemen. And those who prefer not to align. Everything's weak to Bombardment plus. If anybody ever asks you about what a boss's weakness is, you just point them to this VOD. Okay? then they'll know. We saw Kantaran as Genza, and as we know, everything is weak to Bombardment Plus. Taelin going back into Alana's towers, having skipped a bunch of these things due to not having Aura in the early game, must have just been weighing on his mind. Fortunately, as we know, there was nothing important there, and that Taelin really just needs to keep moving on through. Needs to get to the lab, find that water mask. And here we see Alana as Emperor Dad. Emperor Dad with like 2000 HP. If only that was a problem. Elevator keycard. Taelin can now go pick up the Timespinner Gear 1. And that's a Timespinner Gear 2 at way up there. A certified Lily Seed. Taelin making their way through Upper Maw, finding the early fire. Probably not feeling good about it. As we see Planeswater not very far behind, but with that water mask able to check the underwater. Yep. Did not feel good finding that fire immediately over to the vines. Both of these runners probably sweating. You're 56 minutes into the seed, and if you're Taelin, you only have one piece of the Timespinner. If you're Planeswater, you're only missing one piece of the Timespinner. Both of these runners in very stressful situations. Unfortunately, as we know, Planeswater is very handedly in the lead just due to those deaths, which was unfortunate. Taelin had to make some pretty insane plays and really went for it. Unfortunately, did not end up paying off, and now during their backtrack is going to find a bunch of bait in the A card and the tablet, when what they really need to be doing is getting into the lab. Oh no, the A card wasn't bait. The A card led to the gas mask, which is logically required. So yes, the fire was required in the end. Yeah, Planes just being able to route everything in so much smoother with having the early fire is really showing off. Here we see and planes heading into the present Caves of Banishment. I'm going to check the 4 checks down here. Hoping to find that wheel 3. Thinking about how they probably had access to this really early. At least the last 2. And with nothing in the water. With nothing in the water, we find a succubus hairpin. Going to pick up the last one. And that's a Dijon's Inferno. Don't even need to look, we have Bombardment. And into the Temporal Gyre we go. There will be six, if I'm not mistaken, sets of enemies. Randomly generated. Will be the same for both our runners. And can have such wonderful rooms as that one. Getting to see a rare mob there in Raisha. We love seeing them. Oh no. Harvest rat line. Aren't these just wonderful rooms? Definitely not enemy spam. Dog. Another instance of dog. If I'm not mistaken, the only place you can find dog in the vanilla game. Did get a C card at some point, so we're gonna head up and find out what's taken Varney's place. C card being almost completely useless. Oh, goodbye, Emperor Dad. The Time-Worn Work Beacon. That's really helpful now. The dog and the mini Ifrit are Gyre exclusives. That's what I thought. And what is our other C card location? It's an old code. In Planeswater, heading back into the Zerion Caves. Did they not tag the warp before Zerion? Just bet on not having to come back here? Whatever the case. Retreading some old ground. As Taelin heads back into the Maw fight. Which is against our lovely Ravenlord. Still opting not to use the Bombardment Plus. Oh, it was flooded. I didn't notice that. That's why we didn't get to see. We didn't get to the Zerion warp. We couldn't because we didn't know how to swim up until like 10 minutes ago. And we find Ifrit at Zerion. Ifrit has a nice little cheese spot, but who needs cheese when you have Bombardment Plus? That was 3 shots, I think. And still not the item we're looking for. We're checking all of the 1-offs. This one's a 2-off. There are 2 checks that spawn in the Upper Lake Desolation area after you defeat the Maw at the crash site. Where in the vanilla you will find the captain's cap and captain's uniform. Tells a sad story. Nether Orb Plus. We finally found it. And there's our last gear. Planeswater headed towards the end now. All of the gears in hand. Ready to end this seed off. Hello, Zerion. Goodbye, Zerion. Hello, twins. Hello, Golden Idol. Goodbye, Golden Idol. And that is GG's to Planeswater! Exclamation points in chat. Taelin forfeiting not long after. Let's get them in here. Alright, got the invites sent out to the runners. Welcome on in, Planeswater. GG's.
Hello. Oh my god, that was a seed. I was going to complain about how awful it was, but I made it awful for myself. I can't believe I skipped that room in the lab. It just completely slipped my mind. Yeah, like lately I've been doing like this routing thing in the lab, like, oh, if I have the A card and the tablet, then I can do that room later. If I don't have him, then I'll do that room right away in case one of those is there. So, I must have gotten into the muscle memory of, just skipping it at that point.
You were thinking about it consciously at the start. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna do this, and then after you went through Spider Hack, the muscle memory kicked in and you were gone.
Yeah, I mean, the water mask was also a little distracting there, to be fair. But
yeah, the water mask.
Was there a gear behind the water mask? Was it required?
I don't think it was.
Yeah, it might have been bait.
Because you had 3. Yeah. You found the one at way up there, and then you left the one in labs.
Yeah, and I made it awful for myself by even double dipping Zerion just to fight, flooded Zerion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, how about that early Summon Spangle? I was getting so many levels.
Yeah, lots of levels. We like finding it early. And after an hour and 6 minutes, you've definitely got plenty of time to just accrue levels. Taelin116, what was your last time spinner gear
Mhm.
is unfortunately only their second. They have the spindle and that time spinner gear.
I see. They have
Has
not
not
gone
been.
Barngroth Towers yet, then?
Yes, they have not done the right towers. Has done the
Oh,
left,
right.
so it does have
Okay,
Talaria.
they got the Talaria, yeah. I'm curious what level I was at the end of that game. So I'm gonna reload my save.
Yeah, Talon had a rough death early in the castle,
Level
and then
44.
went to go fight the Maw without the gas mask. Unfortunately, GG's Talon.
Hey, GG's.
Hey, GG.
What a mess
That
that I
was-
make.
Oh, I made a mess of that seed myself as well. By skipping a room in the lab and just forgetting about it.
Yeah, so that
I
gear
was
you just
pretty
got.
hard committed to. Well, I got about halfway up the tower, then I realized, man, light wall for this is terrible. But at that point, I kind of had to just commit to it, and it was just so slow.
Royal Towers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that neurotoxin trap was so rude.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting this forever, and until I go way back for it.
Yeah. It was a rough start.
Yeah.
As
He
far
had a lot
as,
of
far as
damage.
movement went.
Yeah, movement-wise, yeah. Items-wise, it was a little rough, but, like, we had the damage. We eventually got Bombardment Plus.
Yes. Bombardment Plus, making quick
Yeah,
work of
Yeah,
all
that
of the
was a-
bosses.
It's a marathon, but yeah.
Yeah, I had a really early death too that just really threw me way off, and I'm like, well, that's me dead.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
And so that didn't help my mental any, but it was just once I should have just left the tower after light wall, but I just no man, there's something up here. I got light wall. This is fine, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no aura to keep this single movement up.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, it's definitely slow, but it had some stuff in there, if I recall.
Nope. I don't think it
Royal
did actually.
Towers-
I don't remember getting
Royal
a ton out of
Towers
there.
did not have anything.
Oh, it didn't
Yeah,
have a single thing?
it was
Oh,
everything
okay.
was just a sunken well, I mean, there were like
Yeah, you just had to
5
kill it
zero
on,
levels I kept finding, so that was
for
fun.
the end, but okay. Huh. Well then, never mind.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you
like I
had
said,
to make your
every
way to
time I would chase something, it would end up with a sand bottle, and I'm like, guys, come on, one of these things has to pay off, and it just never did.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, fine, time to be aggressive. We're going to the labs. I don't have the gas mask, doesn't matter. I'm gonna try anyway. And I killed the boss, and in his death animation, I died.
Oh yeah.
And
that-
so I had to go back
Yeah,
and
you
get
have to
Talaria
use
again,
human.
and
Before, oh my goodness.
Yeah, because you hadn't saved
That is
since
rough.
before Feline Century.
Oh no! Always save. Always
yeah,
save.
I was just. As soon as I walked in that door, I'm like, should have saved. That's a mistake.
Or-
I guarantee
yeah.
it.
Yeah, if you're doing Maw out of logic, you gotta save. That's
and that was just that was me thinking about something else and being frustratingly arrogant, and it just was like one bad choice after the other, and I'm like, dude, nothing's working out for me.
It was that kind of seed that just made you question everything.
Yeah, it really exposed how much I'm not used to like single jump light wall as my vertical, and it really showed a pretty glaring weakness in my game that I really need to brush up.
Yeah, it's especially pretty rough without Talaria attachment. Talaria lets you do a lot of things with single jump light wall that you just can't do.
Yeah, it was very much a you know what to practice now, don't you? Yeah, but anyway, GG, man, great run.
Yeah. Fun seed. GG's.
Yeah, that was an insane seed, and as we see on stream, the way up their chest, having one of the remaining time spinner gears.
Yep.
Plains, do you remember where your first time spinner gear was? I think it was in Towers somewhere. In Varnagroth Towers.
I think the wheel was there. I don't know where the first gear was. They might have. There might have also been a gear there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right side.
I know the-
elevator. Yeah. I think just before I got the wheel, I might have gotten a gear.
Yeah, I think there were 2 in there.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys don't have to mind me. I'm just playing it for the sake of playing it now.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. Fire was almost completely bait this seed.
Oh yeah, I saw that and I was like, come on.
Unfortunately, the A card blocking that that gas mask does technically make the A card not bait.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go right if I didn't find the gas mask, but yeah, it's always a risky move to go out of logic and then find the gas mask to the right of the
Yeah,
lasers, and
it's
then
risky.
No, it's everything you've done there has cannot pay off.
Yeah, it's definitely risky.
But yeah, I was kind of hoping for the double dip Zarian last gear on the Zarian fight.
Oh
That
yeah.
would have been so rude.
Very rude, because I just could not fight. I mean, I would have bought Zarian if my first time around if I could, but Water Mask was behind that gas mask logically.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, are you serious? Can I have one thing, please?
Yep.
I saw that water mask. I'm like, woof, that's rough.
The water mask was complete bait, however,
Oh my goodness.
as we know.
Oh, by the time I saw it, I'm like, I'm not chasing that. I don't care at this point. And that's about the time they finished. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's
After that
entirely
death for
fair.
the mall, I was just like, okay, I'm just kind of gonna wait till this is done. Now I kind of feel like I burnt that bridge at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, had you made that play, and lived the Ravenlord at Ma, you would have had a really good chance there.
Yeah, and I hate the Ravenlord on any equipment set.
Nobody
That is just the one fight that I just really suffer.
Nobody really likes the Ravenlord fight.
Yeah, that one is always rough for me. I don't know what that thing has against me, but I struggle with it.
Yeah, it's a very rough fight.
And then
we had Stash at
being
that point,
there
which
did not help my
helped,
cause.
But yeah, right. If you were doing it under pressure, like gas pressure, yeah.
Also, would just like to say, I remember where our other Timespinner gear piece was. It was locked behind the elevator keycard, which was on Bat Ledge.
Oh yeah, right. That's why you did left side.
There
not
it
right
is.
side. Yeah, I did Bat Ledge before Towers, so I just got both pieces right away.
Yeah. So, Planeswater, you in your next round are up against Wef Jebster.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is an extremely scary bracket.
So many good players.
But yeah, looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun.
And then, let me pull it up. I knew Wef beforehand. Planeswater, you... where
Argent
do you...
Swept.
No. Sorry. That's why I couldn't find you in the bracket. I'm looking at Planeswater against Wef. Taelin. You are up against Ron Maru in losers now.
Yeah, I watched their race the other day, and it was a really good run too. So
Yeah. You guys got any thoughts about this flag set for the tournaments? Like,
I love the flag set for the tournament.
It definitely switches things up.
yeah.
The only thing I wish we could do as final changes is if the bridge leading to Lake Serene had a chance to be flooded. It's
Yes,
really to
and
change
which
that,
does
but
exist,
that would,
but
yeah, which exists, but it was not finalized.
yeah, it
for
was
reasons.
It was not in time for this tournament.
But yeah, that would be a lot of fun to like switch things up even more earlier Lake Serene. But yeah, no, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I am really a big fan of this flag sets, and like I said, I'm a Link to the Past randomizer guy. That's what I do. And a buddy of mine, Pi, who's raced with earlier today, was like, "You got to try this game out." I'm like, "All right, I like Symphony of the Night. Hit me." And I just fell in love with it. And then he said, "Yeah, it's kind of made for randomizer." And
Yeah,
just
it's so
feed
much
me.
fun.
Just feed me. It's so I love it. It's one of my favorite things to play.
It's such a great randomizer.
Yeah. I would say
Yep, I
still
also-
need to put some work into it. There's some struggles there and there.
You and me both. Starting from A Link to the Past as our main randomizers comes
Oh.
Timespinner.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no,
And
I
exclamation points in chat for Taelin finishing up.
GG.
thanks, man.
GG's.
Yeah. I wanted to finish it regardless. I just didn't want y'all to have to be waiting 20 minutes for me to do it.
That's completely fair.
But yeah, no, super excited. I'm glad to be part of SGL and the Timespinner community now, and looking forward to the next race and more races down the road. And yeah, thanks for having us on. Thanks for the restream. Really appreciate it. Glad to finally get one of these under my belt. It was a little nervous to start, so
Yeah, thanks for the race. Thanks for hosting. Thanks so much for to Speedgaming Live.
Yes, go give these runners a follow for their brilliant match today, and perseverance through this wonderful damage seed.
a mire
can't
of
say
my
much.
own making.
Can't say much about item placements, but it was a wonderful damage seed.
Yeah, that was super nice. A fan of the Shattered Orb.
Yes. Any final shoutouts from either of you?
Shout out to everyone racing. Go watch some matches.
Yeah, there's another one tonight, I think. Here in a little bit.
Yes, another one tonight. If you have something to say, let me pull it up.
No, I just think there's one tonight. I was calling a shot and hoping I was right.
You are right.
Yeah.
It's tonight in 30 minutes, right here on Speedgaming 5.
Oh boy.
That is
Don't go anywhere.
Urza MTG and versus Lord Raiden. So stick around for another 30 minutes. There will be another match waiting for you. This one will be calmed by Llama and Wef. Plains, if I were you, I'd stick around. Get some insight into Wef's mind, what he's thinking while people are racing.
Yep, always.